So you're tracking your calories, you're eating clean, and you're still not losing weight. Well, this is why. My name's Charlie. I've been training for 10 years. I've been a personal trainer for 6 years. I've helped countless people lose weight. One of my clients lost 40 kilos and one of my other clients lost 6+ kilos in just 8 weeks. In this video, I am going to teach you 3 main reasons why you might not be losing weight, and I'm going to tell you how to fix them. So if you're new here, the way I like to do things is upfront the knowledge in my videos. You can get what you need from the video and you can carry on with your day. If you want to stay around to find out solutions, then they're going to be through this list. The 3 main reasons why you can't lose weight, even when you're tracking your calories and even when you're eating clean. Number 1, you're probably mistracking. Number 2, your estimated calories are higher than your actual deficit. And number 3 is that you probably aren't doing enough movement. So the biggest reason why most people cannot seem to lose weight, even when they're tracking and even when they're eating clean, is that they are mistracking. So somewhere along the way, they are missing things that they are adding to their diet, and they are not tracking them consistently. So things like oils and butters when you're cooking can slip their way in because it's hard to measure or people forget to measure them. So often when I give meal plans, I drop calories by 200 just to take into consideration oils and butters that they may be using while cooking. Another area where this could come from, it's also sauces. So people adding condiments to their food can make the calorie amount shoot way up. The next thing is going to be things like snacks. Now, we don't intentionally mean to snack, but when we walk around, say we're working from home, or say in the office there's a fruit bowl or there's a snack bowl, we may just pick things up without even realizing it. One of the things that I realized as I was going through my contest prep was that I needed to track things as and when I ate them, because if I didn't, I would forget to do it later on. One of the stories that happened for me was I thought at the end of the day I had 300-400 calories left of my diet, and I was buzzing. I thought I'd ate everything the same as I normally did, but I still had 300-400 calories. I didn't really think anything of it, so I went to the shops and I was like, I'm going to treat myself. And I think I ended up getting a protein bar and something else, maybe chocolate milk or something like that. And I remember consuming that, and it was only the next day when I ate my bagel that I was like, I didn't track my bagel yesterday. And that's where those 300-400 calories came from. And that was someone who was tracking religiously throughout their prep and was following a meal plan, but I still was like, I got 3 calories, I can use them. Whereas if I actually tracked things as and when I was doing it, then I would know exactly what I was eating, and I would know that I actually didn't have those calories free. One of my other clients was eyeballing their oats. So even though they were like, I'm eating 40 grams of oats, I asked them to eyeball it and then put it on the scale. So what I asked them to do was 3 days throughout the week, just so we could prove it, that eyeballing your food is way more difficult than it is to just track it, is I would get them to put their bowl on the scales, press tare. I'd get them to remove the bowl and then add what they thought was 40 grams and then add it back. And they were actually doubling the amount of oats on average. Now, that is super, super common, because when you have things like cereals or things that have serving sizes, there's a very high chance that if you are eyeballing it, you are probably going to be going over when you don't even realize it. Another reason why people mistrack is not only that they aren't correctly weighing out their food and they're not weighing everything out, is that sugary drinks and calories, even though they say low sugar or zero sugar drinks could still have calories in. Things like that can start to rack up over time if you're having multiple of them to help you manage the deficit. So keeping an eye on little bits of milk that are going in your tea, keeping an eye on the zero sugar drinks that aren't necessarily 0 calorie is going to be really good. The solution is to simply track everything, is to log everything. Say you aren't someone who's tracking their calories and you're not doing it with a calorie calculator, but you are logging your food in a food diary, or you're following a meal plan. Keeping a note of everything you're eating and drinking as and when you do it is going to allow you to tick those things off the meal plan, or it's going to make sure that you're hitting the exact food plan that you have written out. And again, if you're tracking calories, doing it as and when is going to help you to make sure that you don't end up in a situation with me and my bagel. The greatest thing with fat loss is the fact that it can be boiled down as simple as eat less and move more. And that's the second point. You may just not be doing enough movement. So a lot of the time when people are trying to diet and they're trying to lose weight and they're tracking their calories and the weight's not coming down, is they've not adjusted their movement. Now, being active is one of the greatest ways to sustain weight loss in a long period of time. So if you are someone who is trying to lose weight, one of the best ways to do it is to increase your movement. Say you have someone who has lost a load of weight and you're trying to maintain that, then increasing your movement is going to help. 1,000 steps is going to burn anywhere from 30 to 60 calories. So increasing your step count throughout the day is going to help you to sustain that weight loss or give you and build you that deficit that you're trying to build. 0 to 4,000 steps. So if you are doing somewhere between 0 to 4,000 steps, just simply double your step count. If you're doing 4,000 to 6,000 steps, add 50% of your step count. So 4,000 steps, add 2,000. 6,000 steps, add 3,000. What that's going to do is get you closer and closer to adding those extra calories. So again, 1,000 steps, 30 to 60 calories. It's going to take about 10 minutes of your day on a steady walk. So if you're trying to increase that deficit, increasing your movement is going to be a big shout. If you're doing 6,000 to 9,000 steps, add 25%, and 10,000 to 15,000, add 20%, just to kind of build that deficit even more. Now, there comes a point when you are trying to lose weight where doing more movement just isn't feasible, in which case it brings us on to our third point, which is you may be eating the correct calorie amounts that your calorie calculator spat out. It is said that you will be in a deficit if you eat X amount of calories. But the problem is that's not taking into consideration metabolic adaptation. Now, metabolic adaptation is the process that our bodies go through in helping us to stay alive. Metabolic adaptation is the slowing down of your metabolism as such, so we don't lose weight and we don't rapidly just disintegrate. Now, it doesn't work the way people think it works. People think that they can tank their metabolic rate, that people can ruin themselves by dieting, that they are going into starvation mode by eating too few calories. Now, that's not true. If you could imagine that your estimated calories, depending on how heavy you are and the weight you're trying to lose, runs on like a linear scale. It's a bit like this. What actually tends to happen is that even though you have this line that is your calories that you should be consuming, based upon calorie calculators and all of the numbers and all of the data, what tends to happen is as we're gaining weight, as we're eating more and more, we actually get this artificial buffer where we end up being able to consume more calories than what our estimated is. And the reason that tends to happen is because as we are consuming more food, our thermic effect of food is going up. We are eating more food, therefore it's going to cost more calories for us to consume that and digest that food. That will artificially increase those amount of calories. Not only that is, as you feed yourself more, you can put more effort into training. That more effort into training means that you can burn more calories during your session because you're simply training harder. Then NEAT, your involuntary movement, fidgeting, moving that you don't even realize you're doing increases, and your want to movement also increases. You're running up and down the stairs, you're moving more than you normally would. These things are going to also increase that our maintenance, or what would be our calories that we're consuming and the calories that we're burning because of those things. But the same is true when you're losing weight. So when you're trying to lose weight, even though the calorie calculator is saying that you should be eating 2,200 calories to lose weight, that may actually look more like 2,100 or 2,050. And that is because your body is starting to slow down processes. You see, you are a smaller human as you lose weight, which means that you have less of you to keep alive. That also means that organs are going to shrink, which is going to affect your BMR. So your BMR is your basal metabolic rate, which is basically all of the calories that you need to burn or that you need to consume in order to keep yourself exactly the same human as you are when you woke up. That means for you to run your organs, for you to just do the normal processes in the body, your body needs a certain amount of calories. One of the things they have found is that if you have two identical people, but one person can eat more than the other, their identical muscle mass, their identical height, their identical weight, age, and sex, those people who can eat more calories than someone else is simply because their organs are bigger. And that is part of the things that we can't really affect, which means that when we are looking into why we can't lose weight, and one of the biggest reasons is going to come down to the fact that the calorie amounts on your calculator isn't necessarily correct as we start to lose weight. We see this over and over again, that the calorie amounts that people finish a diet on is way less than what is actually recommended based upon calorie calculations. And this is just purely because as we start to eat less food, our thermic effect of food and the amount of calories we use to digest food goes down. The NEAT that we do, we are so fatigued and so tired coming towards the end of a diet that our body doesn't want to move. A really good example of this is as I was training for the bodybuilding competition, when I started prep, I could guarantee that when I would teach a class or do a personal training session, I would get somewhere between 750 to 1,000 steps during that session. Towards the end of the prep, it was 250 steps. And I would track that on my watch, because what started to happen is as the prep went on, normal days where I would hit my step count, just through my normal activity, I wasn't hitting it. And I was like, what is going on here? And then it started to tweak that actually my body is telling me to stand still and it is not allowing me to move because I am so tired and so fatigued and have so little calories that anything extra my body doesn't want me to do. So that's going to be the same for you. The solution to this is to obviously lower your calories by a couple of hundred. And that's going to start to drop you again further down into that calorie deficit and actually take into consideration the metabolic adaptation that might be occurring. Other ways to deal with this is the fact that your fatigue may be causing you and masking you from being able to continue the weight loss because your NEAT is so far down and you're not being able to put enough effort into training, you're not being able to put enough effort into your cardio, you're not being able to put enough effort into moving around. So by managing the fatigue better, we will be able to manage our deficit better. We're not going to go into fatigue management today, we're going to go into that in a different video. So if you're tracking calories, be careful of sauces and oils that sneak their way into your food, and be careful of fizzy drinks and snacks that are coming out of nowhere. Also, just be conscious to make sure that when you are tracking, you're tracking everything you're eating and you're doing it in the moment that you consume it. If you are moving less than you probably should, look to increase your steps. Like I said earlier, my body started to naturally reduce the amount of movement I was doing. So if you aren't tracking your movement, start to track it and start to increase it by the amounts that I've said earlier. If you're struggling to deal with the fact that you aren't losing weight, even though you're in the deficit that the calorie calculator is spitting out, understand that metabolic adaptation may be taking place and you may just have to lower your calories. Creating a calorie deficit is as simple as increasing movement and reducing food, but you have to create a diet which is sustainable, one you enjoy, and one that you can keep doing over and over again. And this means that you need to take into consideration the food sources that you're having, making sure whole foods is in there, and tracking everything you can. I am currently writing a fat loss book and we are doing a free fat loss course. The next one starts in August, so if you're seeing this before August 2026, jump in there. If you're seeing this after, we're still running a free fat loss course. It will just be slightly different than the personalized one that I'm doing this time. If you want to join that, please click the link below. If you know anyone who wants to join that, send them the link as well. This August one is going to be the last in-person free one we do, though we are still going to run a free course through the website. My name's Charlie. This is Hack the Body, Hack the Mind. We'll see you on the next one.